David, my question for you is quite broad. I mean, we tried to work in past 10 years with organizations to help them to reach their objectives, and they used or try to use project management or Lean or Scrum or Agile or whatever to reach their objectives. I strongly feel that GTD can help them. What is, in your opinion, the relationship between all of those methods?
You know, everything that I know about those methods, or at least that I've learned about them, and I'm not really an expert in those particular arenas of project management, they're quite rigorous and quite good, at least from what I've seen. What GTD does, I think, is it adds refinement to that thinking, in that the real core elements of productivity are outcome and action. What are we trying to finally accomplish, and what's the very next allocation of resources that we need to manage to be able to move toward that outcome and have it happen? Most project planning that I've seen has to do with the middle parts of that. In other words, okay, we think we kind of have this goal, or we have this project, and let's chunk out the major pieces of that, and then maybe see how they're sequenced and so forth. And very seldom have I ever seen a project plan of any sort that got down to the granularity or the specificity of real specific next actions that need to be taken. I mean, ideally, you could use any of those models about something, or let's say the most appropriate model for the particular kind of project that you're working on. But even as, let's say, refined as you get that plan, somebody still needs to say, so wait a minute, which parts of this can we move on right now? And what's the next action, and who's doing that? So GTD just adds an execution component to all of those that says, okay, I'm sure you've experienced a lot of project plans sitting on the wall, but things are not necessarily happening about it. So first of all, somebody has to own the project, which is really, you know, an important aspect, and then that person needs to decide how much detail do you need to detail out using Scrum or Agile or critical path or whatever those kinds of things are. And oftentimes people, once they get down in the weeds of a project, forget to ask the critical question, oh, excuse me, what exactly are we trying to accomplish? And who owns that? And then what's the very next action on all the moving parts? So if someone is already doing those and using those very critical questions, then they're already doing GTD. But we've seen from most of my experience with lots of project managers over the years, they would all say, wow, we need to add the GTD component to that other project plan, you know, those other kinds of methodologies that they're doing.
Okay, so basically they can use both the natural planning model from GTD and these methodologies together in order to get a long-term vision, and on the other hand, to have a clear idea of what they are supposed to do.
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly. And again, one of the things that I really recognized, I didn't make it up, I just recognized how our brains naturally plan. And they naturally start with some purpose causes you to start to plan. I want to have something happen that's not happening yet, so there's a purpose. And then, you, based on your current reality, if you haven't fulfilled that purpose yet, you go, well, wait a minute, what are all the things potentially meaningful we need to think about? So there's the vision of what you're trying to accomplish, that then starts to create automatic brainstorming, which once you then get all the potentially relevant data, your brain naturally starts to sort them into sequence or priorities or components. And then, oh yeah, now okay, what do we need to do first about this? So you have purpose, vision, brainstorm, organize, and action. So we're doing that in a way all the time. Our minds are doing that, but many times project plans and project planning and project management just focuses on the organized piece. Yeah. Not so much on the why or what would wild success look like. It doesn't take you long to think those through, but those are important things to make sure that you're lined up and keep things on track toward what you're trying to do. And many times they neglect to brainstorm as much as possible, and they may be missing some potentially meaningful data. So if you added any of those, most people could improve their project plans if they did a little bit more of any one of those except organize. We're also trained to organize in the way we're trained in school and so forth, that oftentimes most professionals don't need a whole lot of motivation to get organized. but they could certainly use the question, wait a minute, why are we doing this? What's the purpose? You know, and what would success really look like? We'll know it's finished successfully when what's true. And by the way, let's get all relevant data. And oh, by the way, what's the next action? So all of those steps besides organize are oftentimes an improvement opportunity, one or more of those steps for most project plans that I've seen.
Yeah, and I suppose also that making clear what we are really trying to obtain as a positive effect on motivation, on communication, on team working, on whatever. So,
yeah,
okay.
all that.
Okay. Thank you a lot, David.
Sure, Luca.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.